So you've been talking today about the golden age of gas. I was just wondering how you reconcile that with this gas glut that we've seen in Europe and that you've also talked about.
I think the golden age of gas will happen if a couple of factors are fulfilled, a couple of drivers are working through their way as we described. What are those? First of all, unconventional gas boom. There's a lot of unconventional gas coming from United States and, as we described in our work, from China, Australia and other countries. The second one is we expect a major boom of gas demand growth coming from China. Today, China consumes about 100 BCM, and only in 4 years it can go to 250 BCM. So what we have seen in oil and coal, the China effect, we will soon see in terms of gas. And the third one is the uncertainties about nuclear power. Many countries are thinking twice about their nuclear plants, and we think that the gap coming from the slower growth of nuclear may be compensated by strong growth coming from natural gas. So if all of this come together, more unconventional gas growth in terms of production, strong gas demand growth, and the nuclear more or less in many cases are replaced by a natural gas, we may see a golden age of gas. And this would mean that the gas glut we have been thinking to continue around 2020 may finish much earlier, for example, before 2015.
And how do you see this golden age being played out in Europe? Because, I mean, at the moment, it's sort of shale gas extraction in particular is happening in the US, but France has been strongly opposed to it. I believe they've banned it, and the UK has also shown some reticence towards it. So how do you see it playing out in Europe? In which countries and when?
Yeah. In fact, in the entire world, the unconventional gas, shale gas, is facing a strong opposition. It is not only in Europe, but also in the United States or in Australia. But the companies can, in most cases, if not all cases, can address this problem to use better practices. It may be a bit more expensive for them, but they have to do this and they have to use the best practices. If the companies would like to see a golden age of gas, they have to apply gold standards for their practices, how they produce gas. When we look at Europe, Europe is a bit different in terms of the geological formation compared to United States. We expect in Europe only from Poland, which is in the next 10, 15 years, some move to come, but a big change in Europe, like in the United States, we do not expect to happen. The centers of the change of the unconventional gas will be in United States, Canada, China, and Australia.
One of the things about gas, one of the pros you said was sort of the low prices, but I mean, what about the sort of gas to oil price indexing? Do you think that should be scrapped?
It is not important what I think, but we think what will happen here is that more and more long-term contracts will have the elements of the hub pricing, the spot pricing, and even in the long-term prices, when it is linked to oil prices, there will be more and more flexibility, more and more elements of spot pricing with a lot of gas coming into markets. The times of linking the gas prices one-to-one to the oil prices are about to be being over.
We've got an OPEC meeting coming up in a couple of days. Do you think that OPEC should increase its oil output? There's been some speculation that it won't, what the implications are. What do you think?
I think when I look at the global economy, it is very fragile. United States, we get a lot of bad data, weak data, in terms of the economic growth, in terms of jobs data. And as important as that, I see that in China and other emerging countries, which are the engines of the global economic growth, inflation numbers are going up. So I think the economic recovery is facing a major challenge because of the high oil prices. And as such, I believe the more oil is in the market, the better it is for all of us, for the consumers, for the producers, because we all need a healthy economy. And now the economy is tested with the high oil prices.
So are you saying that they should increase their quota and their output?
I would like to hear the day after tomorrow a good news from Vienna, and I would like to reiterate, the more oil is in the market, the better it is for all of us.
And do you think that oil prices are going to keep rising, or do we actually have oversupply at the moment, which might mitigate that?
When I look at the next few quarters, I see that first of all, the refineries will need more oil. The refinery oil demand will increase about 3 to 3.5 million barrels per day. Second, China's oil demand is increasing, and plus in China, we all know that there will be electricity blackouts through summer because of the drought that Chinese are facing, which in turn means a higher diesel demand. And in many countries, we are coming to the travel season, so there will be a strong growth in the oil demand. And if there is not enough production growth comes, we may see higher prices than we have now. And again, this is very dangerous for the global economic recovery.
And how much do you think prices may rise by, percentage-wise?
I cannot give any number by law, but I think that we are already in the danger zone as far as the international oil prices are concerned.
And if OPEC doesn't raise its quota, which is what a lot of analysts are predicting, how will we meet the global demand for oil, and what effect will that have on prices?
I expect that our colleagues in Vienna will read the markets as we read, and underline and understand the need of putting more oil in the markets. But if it doesn't happen, I think this is definitely bad news for the global economic recovery, and we all have to think what will happen afterwards. But one thing is sure, the prices are already very high, and there is a potential that they may go higher if we do not see more oil coming to the markets.
And if other countries follow sort of Germany's example and stop sort of nuclear production, how will we meet energy demand globally? Do you think that's going to be filled entirely by gas, or are there other means by which we'll need to achieve that?
It will depend on the country. In Asia, for example, we will see a combination of gas and coal. In Europe, we will see more gas and renewables. It depends on the countries. But one thing is sure, the energy prices, electricity prices will go up because the nuclear produces electricity at reasonable costs, and therefore brings the electricity prices at stays at a certain level. So this is, of course, it will be a pity, but this is where I see that many countries are going, and the lower nuclear means more gas, more renewables, more coal, and higher electricity prices, and on top of that, higher carbon dioxide emissions, which is also a major risk.